Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's your boy Souls of the Java Tears podcast. And I hope all is well. We are back with another episode of Coffee Talk with Friends. And I brought over the homie, the big homie, the chiseled homie with the beard, because I ain't got one. The man with the 250,000 followers on YouTube. The man with the plan. The man with hold your nuggets, motherfucker. It is the man himself, the great one, Chiseled Adonis. Brother, welcome to an episode of Coffee Talk with Friends. How you doing, man?
I'm doing sensational. I'm happy to be here. And for the people who don't know, I am the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the Chiseled Adonis, here on Coffee Talk. And I'm the friend today. I'm the friend.
Man, welcome. So we're going to jump right in. So we always like to start off with love on Coffee Talk with Friends. So, Brother Chiseled Adonis, what are you currently loving in professional wrestling?
Roman Reigns. Are you kidding me? The hottest heel in the business. The moment he won that Universal Championship, I said, all right, let's see how long he's going to hold on to it. And when Edge won the Rumble, it looked like the writing was on the wall. So to vindicate his return, Daniel Bryan somehow was able to finagle his way into another triple threat in the main event of WrestleMania. The Yes Movement was back in effect. Edge having the Redemption Tour, and still the High Chief, the head of the table, Roman Reigns, defends that title and pins both of them. Both of them in the middle of the ring of WrestleMania. You love to see it, man. Best heel in the business. Nobody tops Roman Reigns. He's the hottest thing in wrestling.
You are 100% right, man. What do you think about the potential of him and Cesaro?
I love Cesaro. I think it's just too soon. It's a mega match, but I just think it's too soon because I feel like Cesaro is in a position where he should not lose. Whether it's television matches, whether it's pay-per-view matches, he should not lose until he battles for that title. I'm happy that SmackDown concluded with Seth Rollins getting involved, so perhaps there's a distraction from Cesaro getting his hands on a title match, and he'll have to go through Jey Uso because we know, he's main event Us, and he's gonna get in front of everything. So he's the Piccolo to, the Gohan that happens to be Roman Reigns. So we'll see how things play out. But I love the match down the line. I just hope it doesn't happen too soon because if Cesaro loses, this might be his only opportunity outside of maybe the Rumble in the future for getting his hands on that championship gold.
Many people are speculating he might win Money in the Bank. What do you think about that?
That's a possibility. I would be all for it because I think he's one of those guys. I think there's maybe 3 guys in the WWE right now who should get their hands on that Money in the Bank. But Cesaro winning it is great because down the line we know he's going to insert himself into either it's the WWE Championship or the Universal Championship. But if he loses, it's not going to look good.
You mentioned 3 guys. Who are the 3 guys you're thinking about?
I'd say 1 is Cesaro, 2 being Big E, and then 3 Keith Lee.
Keith Lee? Why is that?
I loved his work in NXT. I think they kind of dropped the ball since he debuted on the main roster. There was a little bit of money that could be made if they had Keith Lee cross paths with Roman Reigns, given how Survivor Series, they had a little bit of a clash back in, I believe it was 2019. So if that's the case, if they repackage Keith Lee, let him come back and revisit his glory days of NXT and let him get those fans behind him the way they got behind him, seeing how limitless the brother is. I think that's money. So he needs the briefcase to where the briefcase can put him in a great position. Big E is already on a momentum. He's on a train that's going to take him straight to the top. He's going to take care of Apollo when he does. But I truly don't I feel like him losing this IC championship, he'll still have the same momentum that he had once he finishes up that, that whole feud, and then ultimately Cesaro, we all know where he stands. So those are my 3 guys who I need to see in the Money in the Bank match and possibly as a final 3. So it's a toss-up for everybody.
I love you said such beautiful things about the current product right now. You mentioned a couple of people who deserve to move up top. You talk great about Cesaro, but it's time to sip on some hateration.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the hateration part of the show. So what are you currently hating in professional wrestling right now?
The destruction of what was the best faction in the WWE, that being the Hurt Business, because it looked like the WWE became the Hurt Business and hurt all of our feelings. Finally, we had a faction, all black, led by MVP. This man was on one leg and was able to form a faction that was at the top of the wrestling business. Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, tag team gold champions. Bobby Lashley going from U.S. champion, then being elevated to finally getting his hands after 16 years on the WWE championship. They were dripping in gold, draped in gold. They look like the modern day Four Horsemen with the way they were able to generate heat on episodes of Raw. And here we were within 3 weeks. Benjamin and Cedric Alexander were no longer tag team champions. Bobby evicted them from the Hurt Business, and they weren't even on the WrestleMania card, or they weren't doing anything prominent. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it. I think the Hurt Business needed to be together, and now they're destroyed.
Damn. And to be honest, I can't argue with that. They drove me to drink a bottle of champagne the day after. I was hurt, man. I was legit hurt by it. And currently, Cedric and Shelton ain't doing nothing.
Nothing. It led me to drink as well. I was drinking the Babaku. I drank nearly the entire bottle. I was trying to put myself to sleep because I can't stay awake and see the Hurt Business be destroyed like this. And like you said, Shelton and Cedric are doing nothing. It's what they could have defended and lost the titles at Mania. They didn't need to lose it on a random episode of Raw. I didn't understand why.
I got why they did it. I wasn't a fan of it, but I got why they did it. And they should have just kept them together, man. It was like you said, the best thing that they had going on Raw. And Raw's been a mess lately, too.
Oh yeah.
The past few episodes have been trash.
Yeah, I think that was the worst Raw after Mania I have ever seen in my life. It was brutal.
It's like, yo, did you guys even try? Like, usually, for me personally, I'll find like little good spots on Raw. Like any show that I watch, like even AEW, NXT, Impact, I'll find my good spots. Like, yo, I fucked with this. But it was brutal to find a good spot. It was at a point where I was like, oh, there's nothing really here.
Nothing at all. I think they started out. What was the first? The opening match was I think it was Lashley and was it Riddle? Yeah, so it was Lashley and Riddle. Good match, great segment. They didn't even have it was a small backstage stuff, and then immediately right to the action. So I'm all here for that. Then Charlotte, that was a decent promo. I'm here for. A lot of people, enjoy the high spot, but her voice, I love Charlotte, but her voice, I can't do it. And then we had to wait until the conclusion of the show where McIntyre had his match with Randy and Strowman, and that was pretty much it. Outside of those 3 segments, the whole show was garbage.
Yeah, it was trash. It was trash. It was trash. It was trash. Like big trash.
Oh yeah.
So
terrible.
So it's getting a little hot in here, man. And I think it's because we're turning up the coffee maker right now. So my brother Chiseled Adonis, what is your hot coffee take of the day?
All right. Well, as a 90s baby, this one might put a little bit of a stake in the chest of us wrestling fans who grew up during the times. But I gotta say it, the Ruthless Aggression era was better than the Attitude Era. I know. It sounds crazy.
You hurting them.
I know it sounds crazy. Just a couple days after the documentary of Stone Cold Steve Austin. I know how crazy it sounds. Well, we saw Triple H, we saw The Rock, we saw all these guys. But I gotta say it, the Ruthless Aggression era was a better era than the Attitude Era. And let me tell you why. Because the Attitude Era, everybody was over. You could have went out there and coughed all over the ring. You would have had signs and T-shirts selling at the top of the charts. However, the Ruthless Aggression Era was more refined. Everything was balanced, and you saw some of the best matches in wrestling history. Damn near everybody in the Ruthless Aggression Era can go in the ring. The Attitude Era, all the personalities and the promos were great, but the in-ring product, it was only good at the top. If you take a look at the Ruthless Aggression Era, from the start of the show till the end of the show, you saw a more gratuitous product. You got the SmackDown 6. On Raw, you had countless different, kinds of entertainment, whether it was regular routine tag matches. They were all damn near, well, Dave Meltzer probably wasn't giving them 4 stars or 5 stars, but damn it, they were worth it. Every single segment on the show was absolute gold for what felt like, well, outside of Katie Vick, but what felt like half a decade.
It was a good time. It was a good time. And you mentioned the SmackDown 6, and it also had the best class of new breed of wrestlers, where you had Brock, Cena, Batista, Superman Cena. I'm sorry, not Cena. Superman Cena, and so many others were coming in during that time. And this was it? Would you count it as ECW too?
No, right? No, I wouldn't count ECW. Although they did have because the one night stands were great.
Yeah,
but then with the revamp of the show, I think that it really ended up failing. They had so much potential, but I don't think they knew what direction they were going to go. Yeah,
you had RVD as your champion. That is something I never thought I was going to see.
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming. Hell, Eddie Guerrero jumped to the top of the card as well. Chris Benoit got there as well. Ray ended up winning that. Oh, yeah, can't say that too loud. But, yeah, Ray ended up winning that World's Heavyweight Championship as well. So, there was an amalgam of different talent that was out there. Although you did have, the Triple H Reign of Terror that existed as well. Booker should have went over at WrestleMania 19. We all know that. But outside of that,
But you had the match of the century, though, Stone Cold's retirement match at WrestleMania 19 as well.
Oh, yeah. And on that same card, Jericho and Michaels, you had Brock and Angle, just so many classic matches at all those Manias.
It was a time to be alive, because like we talked about in pre-production, the Attitude Era was like an uncontrollable phoenix that rose and like was it was like, I'm putting it in comic book form. It was when Jean Grey first got the Phoenix powers and destroying everything, don't really know how to control it. And then she was the Dark Phoenix at the time, and she finally becomes the Phoenix, helping out the X-Men, working with the X-Men. That was the Ruthless Aggression Era, where everything, like you said, was refined. They took everything that they learned from the Attitude Era and brought it to the Ruthless Aggression Era. The reason why I always put the Attitude Era above it is because you can never replicate that time.
Absolutely.
It was a time where it was the wild, wild west, but it all made sense. Like it was just, I was watching an old ass Raw. It was like between The Rock. I'm gonna come back to this, but how over was Stone Cold and The Rock at the time?
They were damn near A-list celebrities, where they're the pop that, and I had the benefit of going to Raw 25. And that was the first time I ever had the chance to see Austin live. He didn't say a word. He came out, stunned Vince, stunned Shane, drank a couple beers, went to the back. But when that glass hit, the roar from the crowd was like no other. I could have swore there was a man in the handicap aisle in the Barclays Center sitting in a wheelchair, and he stood to his feet. It was crazy how Austin was able to generate that kind of pop. And the very first Raw I ever went to, and I'll never forget it. It was late October, or I should say early October 2014. It was a segment between, there was Lana in the ring with Rusev. And I was sitting here the whole time anticipating hearing, well, it's the big show. But instead, what I heard was, if you summer, and the crowd went crazy. My first time ever seeing Rock live in person. And the pop was damn near sound the exact same that it did on television back during the Attitude Era days. Those guys will eternally be over. And in the Attitude Era, they made so much noise. They were so over. When they walked in an arena, you had to almost turn down the speakers because people's eardrums would pop.
You know what's crazy? They weren't there for that long.
Yep.
They weren't there for that long. And there was another thing I wanted to mention. I'm watching that old Raw, and The Rock and Stone Cold going back and forth. And you know how you kind of forget like what the storyline was about because it's been so many years. And they were going back and forth about the Intercontinental title.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Their feud wasn't for the WWE title. It was for the Intercontinental title at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, they were getting more TV time than the champions at the time. That's how over these guys were. Absolutely amazing. Something that, like I said before, will never be replicated ever again. Because to be that white hot and to find two people who are that white hot. I remember watching the Stone Cold documentary. Did you watch it?
Oh, yeah. I had a chance to watch it all the way through today.
And the look on Vince's face when he's talking about the Attitude Era and the way he was speaking, I was like, that motherfucker misses that shit.
Oh, yeah.
He misses that shit. And another thing was when they said that Stone Cold made $1 million on merchandise in a quarter.
In a quarter.
3 months. 3 months you made $1 million in merch.
Mm-hmm. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And I'm happy you mentioned that about how hot, white hot Rock and Austin was. And think about the other stars that were there they're legends in the game, like Kurt Angle, who was coming into his own, reaching before he became Perk Angle. But Angle, who was in his world of his own. Jericho was there. Triple H was there. Kane and Undertaker were there. Big Show at the time was probably the most over that he ever really was. These guys were all around at this particular point. Triple
H
in their career.
Mankind, Mick Foley, Cactus Jack, Shawn a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was mega superstars all around, but yet the mere fact that Stone Cold was and The Rock were up there, and me and my girlfriend go back and forth about Stone Cold and The Rock. I'm a huge Rock fan. Just it is what it is.
Yeah,
me but too. After the documentary, I was like, I got to give it up to Stone.
Mm-hmm.
I got to give it up to him. I got to give it up to him because he was that guy.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? Now thinking about because last year the conversation in the sports world was about The Last Dance and Michael Jordan and all the other stuff. Now watching the documentary on Stone Cold and seeing him explain what he was going through in WCW, getting to ECW with a tricep that's off the bone, only cutting promos, to where it gets to the point he gets signed by WWE. He's now in this situation, well, at the time but he's in this situation as the ringmaster. It's not getting over. They don't pay him no mind. He switches the color of his trunks from green to black. Nobody tells him nothing. He walks into King of the Ring. They tell him he's going to mess around and win. He gets staples in his mouth after getting himself busted open, comes out of the ambulance. Then you have Michael Hayes just tell him, Jake was talking about Bible verses in his promo. Or word, stuns him in 3 minutes, wins the match, and turns it into the greatest promo at the time in WWF history. Creates Austin 316, gets his spine pretty much shifted and can't feel any kind of nerves in his lower extremities at SummerSlam in 97, still able to stand up on his 2 feet with one leg barely working, and goes on to be the hottest draw in wrestling history. This man is the GOAT. He is
He,
the
he,
greatest
he,
of
he,
all time.
he really is. He really fucking is, because him to cut a promo like that off the top of the head, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Off the top of the head. He used the whatever Jake had said, used it for his own thing, 316, and you're like, what? Funny thing, I was making a joke last night, I tweeted about it. I was like, low key Triple H saw the Attitude Era.
Oh yeah, with the curtain call. His fault.
And it was God's plan.
Yeah.
Strictly God's plan, because Vince didn't believe in him. Eric Bischoff didn't believe in him. You know, JR fucked with him. Paulie fucked with him, but it was really him. He was just like, yo, let me be me and let me figure it out. And that's the beauty about professional wrestling. When you know a guy got it, when it's them at 300, which is why he probably left. The mental part of it got to him. And the beauty about the documentary to me was the struggle of success.
Mm-hmm.
They showed that dark side of being on top. They showed that dark side of family and ultimate success.
Yep.
How us men, we want that, and women too, we want that ultimate success, but you got to sacrifice so much.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, you remember the part when he's talking about his family? He calls his daughter.
Yeah. In England.
And she was there that long that she lost her Southern accent. You got to be there at a place for a very long time to change the way that you speak.
Yep. And what was so alarming was the timing in which it happened too. Because remember, he said that transpired like during the time that 9/11 happened. So at his wife at the time, or ex-wife at the time, I can't recall which one it was, but her being afraid to fly and staying in England. And now Stone Cold wasn't missing dates during that time. That was in the midst of, Jericho becoming undisputed champion, the build towards Survivor Series, things of that nature, where it was winner take all, WCW, EC, all the other stuff. And Stone Cold wasn't missing an episode of whether it was Raw, whether it was SmackDown, and his personal life is completely falling apart, but you would never know.
It's the professionalism, and it's that it's scary because you're striving for success, for that ultimate success. You want that. You want what it comes with it, the popularity, the fame, the money, the easier life, and you want to take care of your family. But the sacrifice that comes with it is like, when you hear all professional athletes, a lot of them say the same thing. A lot of them say the same thing. And I love that they brought that part up where it was, he had an unhappy family. Yeah. I remember watching this Will Smith interview. I love Will Smith. He's on my top 5. And it goes with the Stone Cold situation. He was just like, how I had 10 #1 movies. I'm doing millions of money in the box office. I'm the hottest thing in Hollywood, but my family is miserable.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, holy shit.
Yep. It's the craziness of when you're chasing after a dream, chasing after a goal, and something has to be sacrificed. And I think, especially as it pertains to relationships, because now that I'm thinking about it, remembering the old WrestleMania Rewind that they used to do on the WWE Network, where they were speaking about WrestleMania's 15s, the first encounter between Rock and Austin. Austin came out in the t-shirt because he was going through a divorce and everything at that time. 2001, when he was main eventing, WrestleMania 17 and everything, his family was still at the time falling apart. 2003, with the heart attack and everything, family was still torn apart. Like his entire peak, he was at the top. His family was completely in shambles. So it's very telling to say, like, what is truly the price of success?
Everything. You have to be, because JR said it in the interview as well, in the documentary. I mean, he was hard to work with, but he was demanding, but he deserved it. Mm-hmm. And there's a piece where I didn't know this until JR said it in this interview, where when Stone Cold turned heel, Stone Cold asked for it. Mm-hmm. And JR was like, what the fuck? No. And then Vince was like, no. But then Vince told JR, like, you know what? He deserves it. If this is what he wants, give him what he wants, because he did absolutely everything for the company. And there's another part, because we talked about how packed stadiums, all that other stuff. And this part really stood out to me because I didn't know this. I knew the company was struggling before the Attitude Era, but I didn't know it was struggling like that, because there's a part in the documentary when he said when he first came in WWE, the arenas were at like 25%.
Yeah, they took a shot and you could see the upper deck and it was empty.
Yeah. And I had a friend, she's a little older than me, and she was like, she's like, I saw it firsthand, because we were at a Raw or something. It was absolutely empty. Our whole family was in a section by ourselves. And I was like, he really saved the business.
Oh, yeah.
He really saved the business.
Yeah. And think about what WWE was going against, because this was during the time in which they were losing to WCW every single week. It took the Attitude Era, spearheaded and led by Stone Cold, to pull them out of where they were. Like, homie is the reason why they flourishing right now. If let's just say his career had ended at SummerSlam 97, does Rock get made into what does he become? Because he doesn't have his partner in crime. That doesn't exist. Now, Rock and Triple H had great chemistry. 2000, it was a hell of a feud, but it got to where it was because Stone Cold had to take a back seat to recover from his injuries. You take Stone Cold out of WWE, you halt that success, and it no longer exists. WWE's done.
Man, we can go on forever about this. I love talking wrestling with you, Mr. Chiseled Adonis. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, so with the Job It's His podcast, and we have the great one, Chiseled Adonis, with us today for another episode of Coffee Talk with Friends. But I'm gonna talk to you guys later. And Chiseled Adonis, let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all of the social networks. The name remains the same. The diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual, the Chiseled Adonis. Go and give me a follow. You'll get a laugh out of it.
I'll see you guys later. It's another episode of Coffee Talk with Friends.